Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Zami, and I'm so excited to have you here with me today. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. So, today I'm very excited about what we are going to talk about. I have started, or I'm starting a series called Girls Before Us. I want us to learn from the female Bible characters for a couple of months or a couple of weeks because I believe there's so much we can, take from their journeys and their moments with God and what they have done. So, specifically today, I will be focusing on a group of ladies who were called the daughters of Zelophehad. Their story is found in the book of Numbers, chapter 27. And so the topic for today is called Up Your Game. Because I believe these ladies did something amazing that really represented what upping your game means and how that can change the rest of your life, right? So before I read the story of these ladies, I'd like to just to give a background story of how this came about. So you remember when the children of Israel were held captive in the land of Egypt, and they cried out to God for help, and God sent a man named Moses, right? And Moses led the people of Israel out of Egypt. Through the wilderness, they spent more than they were supposed to in the wilderness because they got so many things wrong and right and wrong. But finally, they possessed the land of Canaan, the land that God described as a land flowing with milk and honey. God had so many amazing things to say about this land because this is what He had prepared for them. And so, where I'm going to read and where we are going to be focusing on today is when these people had already been in the land and they were focusing on allocating the land right across the people. So they're doing it according to each tribe, and according to the leader of the family, which were mostly male. So the fathers and the husbands were the ones who were the leaders of the households. So, but we come across a story where things were not as normal as other families in this, and so this family had lost a father, and the father didn't have a son or any sons. So that's where we come across these ladies, which were called the daughters of Zelophehad. So I'll start reading from chapter 27, verses 1. It says, the names of the daughters were Mahlah, Noah, Holga, Milcah, and Tirzah. And I found that the names of these ladies' meanings were so interesting, and I thought I should share that with us as well. So, Mahlah means forgiveness. Noah without an H means movement. And Molga means dancing, or Holga rather, means dancing. Milcah means queen. And Tirzah means pleasing. I mean, how amazing are the meanings of these ladies' names? So these ladies, or these sisters rather, it says in verse 2, they came forward and stood before Moses, Eleazar the priest, the leaders, and the whole assembly at the entrance of the tent of meeting. So for me, just that was amazing because I believe it took so much courage, every ounce of boldness that they had for them to be able to do this, because back in the days, women were supposed to be represented by men. It took so much from them to actually even come forward and have something to say to Moses. I mean, I don't think there was anyone greater than Moses during the times. He was the man of God, right? But these ladies said, we have a situation, we have a request, and we will come forward with it, right? And it says, they said to these people, our father died in the wilderness. He was not among Korah's followers who banded together against the Lord. But he died for his own sin and left no sons. Why should our father's name disappear from the clan because he had no son? Give us the property amongst our father's relatives. So they bring their case before Moses and the council of people, and they said, we don't have a father, we don't have husbands, we don't have anyone to represent us, but we want our father's legacy to go on. So we want a share of his property, we want a share of his inheritance, right? And it goes on to say in verse 5, so Moses brought their case before the Lord. And the Lord said to him, what Zelophehad's daughters are saying is right. You must certainly give them property as an inheritance amongst their father's relatives and give their father's inheritance to them. How amazing. God says what these women are saying is right. As far as God was concerned, he had promised this land flowing with milk and honey to every child of Israel, to everyone in Israel. And regardless of their situation, of their circumstance, they deserved to receive an inheritance. They deserved to receive their own property. So it took the boldness and the courage of these ladies in receiving the promise of God, irregardless of what they were facing, right? And so I believe we can learn so much from that. There are so many things that God had promised us in our own spaces, in our own way, in our own lives. And I believe that, obstacles and situations and circumstances will always be there. But it takes the boldness and the courage of each and every one of us to step up, and receive and face on, head on what, stands in the way so we can receive what God has promised. So hence I called this the topic of conversation today, up your game. I believe these ladies had to up their game in a way that has never been seen before. I don't think that something like this had ever happened before. Hence Moses also had to ask God for help. He had to consult God concerning these ladies because something like this has never happened before. Well, you might say what you're trusting God for is something so big or something so different. You've never seen anyone in your family doing it. You've never done it before. You don't know how to go about it. But I would like to encourage you to start anyway. There's always the first step that you can do. For them, it was to approach the council of the people, or to approach Moses with what they had in mind. And so God honored that, and he said, yes, they are right. I have promised this. So I'd like to encourage you with the promise that you believe God has said in your own life, right? Jesus has promised everyone who believes in him abundant life. He says the enemy came to steal, to kill, and destroy. But I have come so that you might have life and life in its fullness. And so if we believe in Jesus, if we are God's children, we have promises to hold on to. But as Jesus mentioned, there is an enemy who's seeking to steal from us, to steal the promises that he has from us. But it will take the boldness and the courage and the faith that we need in order for us to receive these promises. So it goes on to say in verse 8, God said to Moses, say to the Israelites, if a man dies and leaves no son, give his inheritance to his daughter. So because of the faith and the courage of these ladies, the laws of the land changed in favor of the rest of the women that were coming behind them. So I'd like to encourage you, like what God has promised you, or the faith step that you need to take, it might not just be even for you only. it might change the happenings of your family, you know, and your children and everyone connected to you. So step out in faith, knowing that this can be bigger than you. You know, standing for what is right and receiving the promises of God is bigger than you. But it's big in a good way. Not to scare us away, but to encourage us rather to go forward. You know, I don't know what that means to you. I don't know what stepping out in faith means to you. I don't know what upping your game means to you. But for these ladies, it meant what I read. And for me personally, even doing this with you is upping my game. Even doing this is stepping out in faith. I had so many excuses not to do this, to, you know, think otherwise and say, well, it doesn't matter, or what does it matter anyway? How am I going to do this? I've never done this before, and so forth. But I will never know what God has planned for me if I don't do what I can, so that He can do what He can do. So I hope that has been encouraging to you. I'm looking forward to the next lesson that we can learn from the women in the Bible, the girls that had walked the journey before us. But for today, I think I will end there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you will think on this and you will pray into this, and that you will step up and up your game. God bless you until we see each other the next time. Thank you.